I'm super excited to welcome one of my friends, Alexandra Jamieson, to the show. So, welcome and thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. I can't wait to talk about all the millions of things we have to talk about.
So much to talk about. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. All right, so let's start with what I find super interesting. And as you are a girl after my own heart, let's talk about your fuck it list, shall we?
Let's do that. So you and I have known each other for a long time, and I've been working with women around body issues, mindset issues, how we get in our own way, basically. And because of my own experience in my own family, with my son, with myself, I discovered positive psychology about 6 years ago, as this incredible portal to really using tricks and tools that actually worked to help me help my kid and help me rewire my own way of thinking. But it really was inspired by helping my child, who was just diagnosed as dyslexic and ADD, who is this bright, shiny little being who's coming home from school at the age of 6, thinking that he was stupid, thinking that he was dumb, that he was saying he hated himself. It was so heartbreaking.
Right.
I didn't know how to help him. I just knew that what he was thinking about himself was not accurate, that he was actually incredibly bright, just had a different way of processing and learning.
Yep.
So I stumbled into positive psychology. I went to a lecture on what it was, how it works, and the ideas of growth mindset and how we can begin to change how we think about ourselves. And it's not all the airy fairy self-helpy stuff that you've heard a million times over. It's actually science-based. So that's how I got into this. I was like, how can I help my kid? And then I realized, oh my gosh, wait, how do I think about all this stuff?
Right.
I can't teach him if I'm not really absorbing it too. So it was a whole family project.
Amazing. So let's talk about, so this is what inspired you to get involved with positive psychology, to understand, because I know that you're actually like a positive psychology practitioner person, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
And didn't Bob do it with you?
Yeah. So my husband and I decided to go together because he's all in 100%, which I love about him so much. But he's like, oh my gosh, like this is making me question how I think about things. And he works in boardrooms across America with CEOs as a consultant. It's like, oh my gosh, this is a problem for the adults that I work with. I said, I know this is going to help me work with my women clients as well. So we just thought, like, let's do it. The whole family's diving in.
Right on. So what was the first thing that was most interesting about the positive psychology, and how did that inform how you helped your son and how you helped yourself?
Okay, so we know that there is this way our brains look for what's wrong, right? If I came to you and said, hey, so what's going on for you? First thing out of your mouth is going to tend to be what's shitty. Here's the problems, right?
Yep.
So that's called negativity bias.
Yep.
It is built into us. It is a fascinating and really useful survival technique that the human brain is pre-wired to look for what's wrong and dangerous.
Right. So we can live and survive and not be eaten by the predator.
Not be eaten by the predator. Don't walk into traffic, right? Don't do the things that are going to lead to actual physical harm or death.
Yep.
Very great strategy for evolution. Not a great strategy for day-to-day living in the modern world.
Indeed.
So the first thing I learned in positive psychology was the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. This is what changed everything for me. And here's the greatest thing about it. Just knowing the difference between the two is enough for you to get out of negativity bias. So I'm going to rock your world right now.
Please do.
So growth mindset says, I can learn anything I need to learn. Fixed mindset says, if I don't know how to do it, I'm never going to know how to do it. Growth mindset says, if I fail, I'm still learning. I can learn from my mistakes. Fixed mindset says, if I fail, I'm a total loser.
Right.
So there's lots of different nuances with those two things, but growth mindset is always like, there's possibility. Like I can still, there's always options. Fixed mindset is closed down. If I've failed once, I'm never getting there.
Right.
So that one thing helped me say, oh my gosh, like this is what I need to teach my kid and myself about a lot of things. And then there is one 3-letter word that goes along with this that can change any mindset challenge you have. That 3-letter word is yet. I don't know how to do math yet. I haven't figured out how to have an abundance mindset yet. I don't know how to cook for myself healthfully yet. Put that little tiny word at the end of any sentence, any mindset you have now, and it tells your brain, oh, right, I'm still on the path.
Right. That's very similar. That's so like mind-blowing that it's such a small word, but it actually completely changes the meaning of the sentiment or the sentence or the feeling, similar to taking the word but and replacing it with and.
Yeah.
Because the word but creates this, people are like, but, ew, like I don't want to hear what you're going to say after the word but, because it seems like an excuse or it seems negative, because most of the time these things can coexist, right? It isn't a one or the other most of the time. Anyway, okay, so now we know that in the growth mindset, we're looking at things with a type of possibility, and that by adding the word yet to the end of whatever it is that you're doing, you are training your brain and your feelings to be looking for the opportunities instead of the obstacles.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you're thinking right now, okay, I see that there's a possibility here, but I don't quite believe I'm capable of it. There's an idea called fake it till you make it, right? We've all heard of this. Like act as if you believed. My light just went off, so I'm just going to turn that back on.
Okay. Light bulb moment.
Light bulb moment or off. And the problem with fake it till you make it is that you can actually make yourself feel bad about yourself if you are trying to put one over on yourself. So there's another really subtle shift you can do with that, which is wanting what you want to want and looking at it as a beginning of a journey. So if you want to go to the gym regularly, right? I want to go to the gym regularly, holding that as your truth. I want to do what I need to do to have an abundance mindset every day. I want to really honor my body as a temple with every meal.
Right.
Having that as your first thought, that gets you into the energy of fake it till you make it in a way that really works. Is that coming across?
Yes. What I want to say about that is this is how people can sort of figure out how to make this work for them. Because what I find with dealing with clients and groups in my courses is that for some people, like I've never been big on affirmations that don't resonate, right? Because me saying I'm so happy and grateful for my size 2S when I don't have that and am not having that ever doesn't resonate, only does the opposite. So I think that part of the wanting to want, that is true for many people if you don't actually want it yet. I also like the idea of like with affirmations, I'll say, first of all, I don't want a size 2S. So that isn't what I'm affirming.
I don't really want that.
I really don't. But the what do I want? Being physically well. And so it's sort of like my perfectly healthy body is on its way to me right now. Like the same thing, a lot of women, because I'm in the middle of real love revolution right now, and women who are wanting to draw in their partner for life, wanting to draw in the one in their life. For them, it doesn't resonate to say, I'm so happy and grateful I'm in my perfect partnership, because they're not.
Right.
But the thought that it's almost like, if you visualize it like the UPS truck, and that like the package is already on the truck and it's en route, like it's a paved road, it's on its way. Even if it's not here yet, there's something that can resonate as more truthful. The thing I want to say about this, though, Alex, and I want your opinion on this, is that what I find with when I was working more with private clients, one-on-one, is that the negativity bias is so important. And I talk about it quite a bit with clients and in courses, because you have to actually really work to create a more positive life. Some people, it's nature and it's nurture. Some of us are born more optimistic than others. Just some people are born glasses super full people. Some people are born the glasses empty people. And so knowing that there is work to do, and that if you want anything to change, right, you have to do something different. I can't say exactly what. Now on this episode, we're talking about the what, right? So positive psychology, and then we're going to be talking about a bunch of other steps that people can take. But what do you think about, I know that you have clients that you talk to and you go, so what about this? And they all have a way of saying, well, that's not going to work, and I don't want to do that, and I've tried that, and I've done that, and I know all of this.
Yeah.
I know all of this. I'm like, but you don't, because if you did, something would be changing. So
those 3 words, I know this.
Oh, dude, you don't.
Talk about that's fixed mindset.
Yes, it is.
I know this already.
Yep.
This doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Like, really? I beg to differ. Well, here's what's great, though. The people listening to this right now, the people who come to you for Real Love Revolution, the people who read my books or do my programs, do any of these, as soon as you take a step in a direction to sign up with, you put your money down for a book, a program, etc., coaching, whatever it is, that is an energetic statement, an energetic flag in the sand of the universe. You are showing up. I am shifting my energy, but you have to continue planting that flag as often as humanly possible. Now, you don't want to drive yourself insane. There is some kind of a balance, right?
Right.
But the stepping outside of your comfort zone to do something different, it feels scary. It feels like staticky. It feels weird, uncomfortable. That's probably what you need to do if you're hesitating, because you have to stretch outside your comfort zone in order to have something different.
Exactly. And the mindset, what I also find is that a lot of times, especially when I had a full-blown practice, that people are really, really, as Patricia Moreno, a mutual friend of ours, would say, and those of you listening, many of you know who she is, or if you're watching this on YouTube, she is the creator of a mind-body workout called Intensati. So such a beautiful human. I love her to death. But she always says, don't fight for your limitations. And how much of the time do we just love to talk about what we can't do, what we don't know, what we're bad at? Oh my God, I'm terrible at that. I'm a person that, and that. Now I'm recognizing with the distinction that you just made with a fixed mindset and a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Acting like the kind of person you are, especially when it's negative, is written in stone, is this fixed mindset. And it's also like, if you don't like that kind of person that you are, we're going to change it. Like, why are we not making a move towards that? But it's almost like of a sign of being proud of limitations. It's really interesting and really, really attached to that identification. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I want to like preface all this with what we're going to do in a few minutes, which is talk about the bucket list, how people can actually transform all this stuff in a really fun way.
Great.
But I got to get into my feminist gardening analogy here.
Great.
So most of our clients are women. but not always. But all of us are living under a system of toxic patriarchy, whether we're man, woman, non-binary, it doesn't matter, where we have all been suppressing our natural skills and abilities and desires, whether we're male, female, doesn't matter. I mostly work with women, and we have been taught either obviously or subversively to quiet ourselves, to not go for what we want, to not even like go for good grades because it's not what's desirable for women. I mean, there's so much toxic stuff that's been layered on top of our power and our desires and our gifts, our natural talents, for men and for women. You know, I'm raising a young man, he's 11, and he is a super sensitive soul. He is an artist. And I'm so glad he was born to me at this time in New York City, where he gets to be super expressive, where he gets to be creative and sensitive and supported in all of that. Might not have been possible 50 years ago in a different part of the world, right?
Absolutely.
So all of this mindset stuff, it's not your fault, right? A lot of this was bred into us and reinforced into us by the culture that we're born into. But it's our responsibility now to see it and to dig out those roots. I don't know if you've ever had to dig out like actual weeds or ivy or big, huge dandelions. I grew up on an old farm. I did a lot of weeding growing up. And you have to dig down into the roots to get that stuff out. Same for this mindset stuff. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable a little bit, see where it started, and recognize like, wow, this has been in me for a long time. Pulling it all out, it's going to feel weird, but it's absolutely worth it for the beautiful garden that your life is becoming.
And when you say pulling it out, you know, by the roots, we're talking about this limiting mindset, the fixed mindset, the I can't do it mindset, or the lack of worthiness, the feeling of the lack of worthiness of like, I don't deserve this. And, you know, Alex, what I see about with what we're talking about is that part of this, and again with the patriarchy, is that a lot of female clients who come to me, even if they're successful, they're constantly looking outside of themselves for the validation that they're okay.
Yeah.
And that if they're in a transition, if they're transitioning out of a big career, suddenly without the external validation, they're like, who am I? And what do you think about that? And how can positive psychology sort of get into that? And then let's get into our lists, shall we?
Okay. So I actually love to go back to the body. One of the biggest challenges and biggest areas for healing for women especially is for our relationship to our bodies. It's how we view our worth. It's how we feel we are judged and how we are often judged by the outside world. And we spend a lot of money and a lot of time obsessing about and trying to fix our physical selves. So what I would like to do, and if I could implant in you the vision and the awesomeness that is you, the fact that you were even born was a miracle. That the particular sperm that met up with that month's egg in your mother's body created you was a 1 in a gajillion chance.
Yep.
Truly remarkable. The human body, and I don't like to call myself a chronic pain sufferer. I don't like to have that definition. But if I listed the stuff I've been healing since childhood, you'd be like, oh, that's chronic pain. So even though I have been seeing doctors and therapists for my body since I was 13 years old, my body is amazing. So is yours. The healing that's going on right now in your cells that you don't even understand is remarkable. Your brain is constantly growing new connections. Your heart is always beating. Your lungs are always breathing. Like the human body, your body. I don't care if you think you need to lose 20 pounds. I don't care if you're having a headache or a migraine, which I used to have all the time. your body is a frickin' miracle.
Mm.
It really, really is.
Yeah. That is the mindset to come from.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's start with that.
Yeah. Exactly. Why don't we start there?
Okay.
So for you, now moving on to the bucket list, how are we going to use it? How are we going to do it? Tell me.
So here's the thing about positive psychology that's sometimes really frustrating for my clients. Now, I start off every single session, give you a little clue here. I start off every private coaching call with, what's new and good? What do we have to celebrate? What's going well? Half the time, my clients, some of them I've been working with for years, they're like, oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. I don't know. All I can think about is what's shitty, what's bad. Okay. So I realized that it's really hard for us to use positive psychology, which is the whole positive psychology school can be boiled down to what's right with you. Mm-hmm. What are your strengths? And there's all the strengths and values work that's built into it. But I realized that people have a really hard time focus. Like, I don't know what's good. I know what's shitty. Mm-hmm. So I wrote this entire reverse engineered playbook called How to Write Your Fuck It List. And it is starting with each section of your life, your health, your finances, your work, your relationships, etc. What are you tired of? What are you sick of? What are you done with? What do you hate about this in your life? So that we can get really clear about what is not working for you. Mm-hmm. Right? Sometimes we get into these mind spirals of complaining or worrying about really the same 3 or 4 things over and over again. Yep. When in fact, I mean, we waste half of our time worrying about the same few things over and over again. Mm-hmm. So I help you get really, really clear on what those things are. And then I teach you about the growth mindset and about a couple of other simple strategies where we flip each one. Like, okay, I have debt and I am super sick of it. I wake up at 3 a.m. and I worry about my debt. Okay, so how are we going to flip that? How do you want to feel about abundance or your ability to create wealth in your life? You know, I understand money better than ever. I am making more money now than I did 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay. Changing that, flipping it around. So the whole How to Write Your Fuck It List is stuff you're going to stop doing so that you can start doing the opposite in a really clear, simple way.
I love it. And I love the idea of having a fuck it list because there's permission to get really honest about what's not working. And as you said, it's not necessarily when we're complaining, this is like a circular experience where we're not really solution seeking. We're kind of venting. And that's not to say that, once in a while, fine. Every day, not the best. So I love the idea of being able to acknowledge it and then be like, okay, you've been complaining about that for how long?
Right.
Either accept it or do something to change it. Like this, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand what transformation is made of. But I think that getting clear in your own mind about what you're doing, which is what you're saying, like where you're being chronically negative, mm-hmm. and really just, it's almost like just sinking into that negativity bias, like rather than sort of standing up and saying, you know what? Yeah. So my primal mind, right? What do they call it?
Your lizard brain.
Yes, exactly. And then there's another one too. There was another name for it, but anyway, we all know what it is. It's basically the primal part that kept you, the amygdala part of the brain. I mean, all of those things, we understand the reason for it, but like you said, it's maladaptive in our life now. And so rather than just living moment to moment in a reactionary way, what you're suggesting is basically giving yourself the space, because you're getting rid of the negative things that are taking up so much space, to respond productively, actively to the things that are waking you up at 3 a.m. in your life. Yeah. So where can people find out more about what you're doing with the bucket list, and where can people find your stuff? Tell us all things.
So you can go to alexandrajamieson.com. And it's right up under freebies, like stuff you should have. You can download this whole thing for free, work it all by yourself. Or my favorite is actually to download 2 and have a friend over and do it together, because it's so much more powerful when you do it with a partner. And you can do it on the phone together. I mean, if your bestie's on the other side of the world, you can totally do it virtually.
Sure.
Just download it from alexandrajamieson.com. It's free. By downloading it, I will send you other inspirational stuff every once in a while too.
Right on.
It's very, very simple to do. It's a very fun process, and people have raved about it.
And you also have a private practice, like a private coaching practice, I know. So if people are interested in that, that's also they can find, which of course will also be on this page, so people can find it here too. But on your website, it's like Work with Alex or something like that?
Yep. Under the work, there it is right there, the private coaching.
Great. Because I know that a lot of women in my groups really need this type of empowerment, not just the mindset, but really, that's what we decided to talk about on this episode. But the truth is, you're really one of my go-to people for mind, body, wellness stuff, physical stuff, when something physically is going on with me, and the weight stuff, because I really feel like you have got such a great handle on how to help women who've mastered everything else actually become the master of their physical lives in a way without shame, without guilt, removing all of that stress. So anyway, you guys anyone listening, if you are, and listen, you don't have to be a woman, don't have to be, although that's mainly who you work with, anyone who is looking for that kind of help, we have all the information right on this page on the website. Do yourself a favor, check it out, do a consultation, right?
Absolutely.
Doesn't
hurt to look.
That's what I'm saying. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us here today. I love you. I so appreciate the work that you are doing in the world. Thank you.
I feel the same about you. Thanks for having me.
Sure.